Picture this. You pull back a heavy, waterlogged winter cover, and what do you see? A murky green swamp. The smell of stagnant water just hits you right in the face. You try to clear some debris and realize, oh man, the situation is dire. As the quote goes, there's literally about half a tree in this hole. It's a joke. It's visceral, it's incredibly messy, and honestly, it's a terrifying prospect if you're just looking forward to a relaxing summer dip. But hey, don't panic. Today, we are going to learn exactly how the pros tackle these backyard disasters. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going on the swamp to Oasis journey. We're going to break down the exact, structured methods professionals use to resurrect severely neglected pools. Whether a pool has been shut down for just one harsh winter or completely abandoned for a mind-boggling 6 years, there's an actual science, a really methodical process to bringing that water back to a crystal clear shine. I am absolutely pumped to guide you through this, so let's just jump right in. All right, here is our game plan. We're going to break this huge task down into 5 clear phases. First up, diagnosing a green pool. Then we'll look at the chemical rescue method, followed by the mechanical cleanup. After that, we'll explore the drain and acid wash for those really extreme cases, and we'll wrap the whole thing up with final checks and balances.
Okay, Section 1, diagnosing a green pool. What lurks beneath the cover? This is our crucial discovery phase.
Now, you might think the absolute first step is to grab a net and start scooping out leaves, right? Actually, scratch that. The very first action happens completely away from the water. Before you even touch that green sludge, you have to verify that the heart of the pool is actually beating. You need to head into the plant room, pull the plugs, tighten up all the unions, and flip the pump on. Why? Well, if the pump isn't working, any chemicals you add are just going to sit there doing nothing. The equipment literally has to be able to handle the massive filtration load that's about to hit it. Once you hear that pump hum to life perfectly, then and only then can you start the actual rescue. Moving right along to Section 2, the chemical rescue method, saving water with chemistry. The main strategy here for saving a pool without having to drain thousands and thousands of gallons of water comes down to 2 massive trade terms, floc and shock. So floc is short for flocculant. It's this chemical that binds all the microscopic, cloudy debris particles together, turning them into heavy clumps that just sink straight to the pool floor. Shock, on the other hand, is exactly what it sounds like. It's a massive, aggressive dose of chlorine designed to just instantly nuke the algae blooms, turning your water green. Together, they are the absolute magic weapons of pool restoration. But the real secret is how you apply them. Step 1 is sprinkling the floc and 2 different types of shock all around the pool, plus adding some slow-releasing maxi tabs to the skimmer. But step 2, that is where the sweat equity comes in. You have to vigorously brush the entire surface of the pool. I'm talking every wall, every single step. This stirs up all that stubborn algae clinging to the sides and forces it into the chemical mix. Then, step 3 is just an exercise in patience. You wait, you leave it overnight. While you're sleeping, the chemistry is working overtime, killing the green, and that flocculant is dragging all the dead organic matter down to the floor. By morning, you'll find surprisingly clear water sitting on top of a thick layer of heavy sludge. Which brings us to Section 3, the mechanical cleanup, removing the sludge. So, the chemicals have done their job, but now we have to physically get that stuff out of there. The rescuer's toolkit includes a heavy-duty surface net, a vacuum head with a really long hose, a submersible pump for the absolute worst cases, a powerful jet wash, and an automatic cleaner, like a Barracuda, to maintain your progress. Listen, you're going to be pulling up literal buckets of leaves, so your gear needs to be incredibly robust. Let's look at how this plays out over a typical 2-day rescue. On day 1, you absolutely must net the surface debris first. If you skip this step and just go straight to vacuuming, you run a huge risk of completely clogging the pool's underground plumbing with large leaves and twigs. That turns a basic cleaning job into a massive, expensive repair. Once the big stuff is out, you prime the pump, hook up the vacuum, and slowly hoover the bottom to suck up that dead algae sludge. Then, on day 2, you backwash the filter. That basically means you're reversing the water flow to flush all that trapped dirt out of your system and right down the waistline. Do a final skim and you're mostly there. But what happens when a pool is just too far gone? Chemical recovery is amazing because, well, it leaves the water in, uses high-dose treatments, and saves you a ton of physical labor. But sometimes you're dealing with a pool that's been abandoned for 6 long years. The stains are pitch black. The grime is totally calcified. That's when we have to pivot from chemical recovery to the acid wash. This means draining the entire pool to waste, bringing in harsh hydrochloric acid, and committing to the absolute highest level of manual labor. Let's look at Section 4, the drain and acid wash.
This is what pool professionals literally call the nuclear option.
I'll be honest, this is not for the faint of heart. Step 1 is hooking up a massive submersible pump and draining thousands of gallons of swamp water completely out of the shell. For step 2, you are literally strapping on wellies, climbing down into that empty pool, and applying a diluted hydrochloric acid mix directly onto the plaster. Step 3 requires some serious elbow grease. You're scrubbing the top copings, the waterline tiles, and the steps just to lift years of embedded, baked-on stains. Finally, step 4 is bringing out the heavy-duty jet wash to blast away whatever sludge is left, sometimes even scooping it out by hand. It is a grueling, multi-day physical battle against pure neglect.
Okay, section 5, final checks and balances. Whether you went with the chemical rescue or the full acid wash, these are the crucial last steps for reaching crystal clear water. You've done all the heavy lifting, but hold off on the cannonballs. The water chemistry still needs meticulous balancing before anyone can safely swim. Let's look at this troubleshooting table. If your testing shows a low pH, meaning the water's way too acidic, you need to add a product like pH Plus to neutralize things. If your chlorine levels are finally looking good, don't just walk away. You need to maintain that baseline by dropping sparkle tabs into the skimmer. And if you're noticing some persistent cloudiness hanging around after you vacuumed, it usually just needs one final targeted dose of chlorine to burn off those last microscopic impurities. It's a real delicate balancing act.
Oh, and sometimes right at the very end of a job, your equipment decides to throw a tantrum. Here is a brilliant little piece of DIY diagnostic advice for you. Say you toss your automatic Barracuda cleaner into the pool to do some daily maintenance, and it just sits there, completely lifeless. It is maddening, especially when you're right at the finish line. But before you panic and buy a whole new unit, check the internal diaphragm. More often than not, it just has a tiny tear from sucking up a sharp twig. You just pull it out, pop a new one in, and boom, the cleaner will instantly start pulsing and moving around the pool floor again. It's literally a 5-minute fix that will save you a whole lot of headaches. So we've covered the plant room checks, the heavy chemical warfare, the meticulous mechanical vacuuming, and even the nuclear option of a full acid wash. It takes incredible patience, really precise chemistry, and quite a bit of sweat to transform a swamp back into a swimming pool. Looking at everything we've uncovered today, my final question to you is this. Are you ready to tackle the hidden chemistry and heavy lifting standing between you and your summer oasis? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.